welcome to Q.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad to have you, and congratulations on your debut album.
Thank you so much.
Yes, I know you've been releasing singles for a long time, so releasing music isn't new. But does this moment feel particularly special to you?
It feels very special. I think the weight is not lost on me, and I think it feels like the most important thing I've done in my career so far. And I feel the most pressure in a very fun and exciting way, and I feel the most excitement and just like pride of the people that I worked on it with, and it feels like a very big moment. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Are you nervous? You seem peaceful about the album coming out. Do you feel nervous?
Yes, okay. I am nervous. I think it's just I've spent so much time working on it. I've spent almost, I spent a year and a half writing it, 2 years now before it's come out. So I think that's a lot of time to put into something and hope that it's good and hope that, something that you've worked on for a handful of years still stands like a test of time. And I also think sort of like lyrically, it's the most honest I've been. I had a friend of mine that helped write some of the songs, sit me down and say, you use too many metaphors. I want specifics. I want details. And I said, okay, that's fine. So we'll do that. So I feel like this one I wanted to put just like a little bit more of my personal experience into. I'm doing less metaphors in this album.
I like it. So you've said that this album is about sort of chase and catch and release kind of. Wait, am I getting that right?
Yeah, exactly.
The theme of cycle and chase.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me a little bit more about that in your own words.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to have a record that, the second in my adult life, I realized that I am so persuaded by cycles, my own, other people's, just historic cycles. And the moment that I sort of recognized that, my life got so much easier. And I think I left my head a lot more once I realized you are doing these things for a reason. Someone else is treating you this way for a reason. These things come through. And Greyhound, the album, I think is kind of just the accumulation of me looking at all of these cycles now that I've sort of stepped off the track. It's me looking from a distance, and I now feel like an observer rather than a participant in these cycles that I was, not even major or drastically horrible cycles, but just small things that I noticed in myself that I wanted to write about.
When you say track, I think going around and around and how hard it is to get out, especially if it's an unhealthy cycle. What was that like? I
think it's a credit just to sort of growing up a little bit. You can't really realize that you're stuck in a cycle until it happens more than once. First time around, it's just something that's happening. I think the older I've gotten, the more I've noticed sort of patterns. And I think where I'm at right now in my life, I have so many incredible people that have like given me the space and permission to sort of like step off the track and say, this is, how to be treated and loved properly. And this is how we should all be showing up for each other. And I think when you're supported in that way, it makes it so much easier to, recognize that, I was not, acting in a healthy way for myself or for others or whatever leading up until this point.
Yeah. When you say track, it's like Greyhound as in like a race dog.
Yeah, exactly. I had this very, one of the singles, Jeans, there's a lyric that says, my Greyhound, my green grass, my best case, my last chance, I think. I might have got it swapped. But I was sort of using Greyhound in that metaphor of, sort of betting on someone. And I had this vision of like Greyhound dogs racing on a track and how they have these little decoy bunnies that they chase. And it's built by design to be unreachable. The dogs don't know that they're chasing something they can't chase. The bunnies don't know that they will always be ahead of these things chasing them. And I think it was just some really beautiful symbolism to experiences that I feel like I've had in my life. And I've been both, I've put myself in situations where I'm chasing something unattainable for whatever reason, because I want validation or because I want, all the good feelings that come with, if I finally catch this thing, I'll feel so much better about myself. And I've also put myself in, positions of being unchaseable because you want to feel desired and you want to feel, important and something worth chasing.
Yeah. I think that is, I can see how that applies to relationships. I can also see how it applies to a career in the music industry.
It's everything. Yeah. It's career, it's friendships, it's family. I think, the album touches on, just so many different versions of this cycle where it's career, it's family, it's relationships, it's friendships, just all of these different situations where it just felt like such a potent image in my mind that I was like, this is perfect. This is what I want to write about.
I want to listen to another song that gets at this idea of cycles. Here we go.
I'm becoming your first and right man centerpiece. You're leaning on me for deep down in a piece. I'm slipping away. The pressure's making me bleed. Crawling on new world made of these. Passion and last ditch, no love tonic.
I like that so much. Before we talk about the themes and the content, just the melody that away, like the way the melody that you sing on that line, that to me, like that's got to come from a melody that's bouncing around in your head, like you're walking around, you're hearing it. Tell me a little bit about that, because it's all so, it just has such a flow to it.
Thanks. Yeah, that was definitely, I feel like so much of this album, we kind of approached it production first, which is kind of a backwards way when you're a singer-songwriter. It's like probably figure out what you're singing about first and then figure out the world. But I feel like we just had such a strong idea of what I wanted this record to sound like that so many songs came production first. And because of that, I would get these almost fully, arranged and produced demos that I had worked on and would just take them home and either be driving in my car or walking around. And so many of the melodies came from, I would just play all these demos, and in my shower I would have it, and then I would jot it down, and in my, in the car, on the subway, I would have these ideas sort of pop into my mind. So that's, you're reading my mind.
Yeah, that makes
You're in my head.
Sorry, I'll get out. That does make a lot of sense to me, though, based on what we're hearing. So, okay, if we go back to the song itself, some of the lyrics, I'm becoming your first-hand right man centerpiece. You're leaning on me for deep down inner peace. I'm slipping away. Whoa, what are we getting at?
I just wanted to talk about the pressures of being in a relationship. And I think when you have become someone's everything, what that feels like. And it can feel, special and amazing, but it also can feel like a lot of pressure to either not mess it up, or in some situations when you're like, I know this isn't going to work out long term. When you have to put an end to something where everyone's putting all of their happiness and, all of their joy onto you, it's just a lot of pressure, and it can lead to, relationships going on for longer than they should. It can lead to just unhealthy behavior with everyone. So I wanted to talk about that, just like the pressures of being in a relationship that is not correct and should come to an end.
Yeah, well, things have their seasons, right?
Exactly.
It can also feel really dehumanizing when so much pressure is being put on you to be something for somebody else. It's almost like your roundness or like fullness as a person kind of has to disappear in a way, because you're fulfilling a need maybe rather than being seen for who and what you are.
Exactly. And I think that was exactly how I felt in the situation that sort of inspired Right Hand Man, where it was, I think I've been so lucky to be loved so well by so many people in my life that I know what it feels like to be loved correctly. And loving correctly means I'm thinking about you and I'm thinking about what is best for you, versus what can you fulfill for me and how can I put you in this position that fulfills what I have in my mind about this perfect relationship.
I know some of the songs came from difficult cycles. What's it like to listen back to them on the other side, like having processed them enough to make them into art and then hearing it back?
It's interesting for sure. There's a few that I'm like, okay, I guess we'll put this one out.
Oh,
the world will hear it.
What are you most, what one gives you that feeling?
I feel like Disappear is a really honest one, and it feels like, just kind of the most honest I've been in a song. So that one, and even Right Hand Man, I felt like, although it's kind of hidden under this like really upbeat track, it felt like a very honest song. But no, I'm very excited, and I think it's funny because so many of these I had written not even really fully comprehending what part of a cycle I was in or what sort of relationship I was in. And I think my brain and the song knew before I did. So it's also funny just, I think, now being able to look at it in retrospect and be like, thank God you wrote it down, but thank God you got out of it. That was, I can like feel the stress a little bit.
You can feel the
I shudder.
Can I ask you a question about your voice?
Yes.
Your very special, amazing voice. So like when little girls are starting to learn that they can sing, one of the things that you do is you try to sing really high. And to me, the special thing about your voice is the depth in it. And it usually takes singers a minute to figure out how to access that part of things for themselves. What was it like for you? Like, at what point did you discover that that was something to lean into?
I had been singing and sort of trying to record, whether it was on like a recordable karaoke machine or like a little, Fisher Price radio. I'd kind of been recording my voice and listening back to it since I was a kid. I think I got lucky that by the time I really, really wanted to know what I sounded like, I had hit puberty and there wasn't any other option. You're not going above a middle C.
I love it.
To stay down.
I love stay down.
And I also think I was really lucky. My family listened to a lot of Diana Krall, a lot of Nora Jones, Sade. So I think I had the opportunity to sort of listen and sing along to these songs and clue into which ones felt better and which ones felt worse. And it just slowly, led me to the deep, deep end.
It's so perfect that your parents were into that music of people whose voices showed you what was possible.
Definitely.
I think, right?
Yeah, no, I feel very lucky for that. Yeah.
Let's listen to another song from the record. Here we go.
Take all the time you want now, baby. I'll stay waiting patiently. Take all the time you want now, baby. No. Round and round, I just let you go.
That's Round and Round from Katie Tupper's debut album, full-length album, Greyhound. I'm Talia Schlanger in for Tom Power here on Q. I know that song is written from the perspective of your hometown. I'm going to get to that in a minute, but first tell me a bit about your hometown, Saskatoon, through your eyes.
Saskatoon, yes. Saskatchewan. I'm
Let's
a prairie
go.
princess. I love Saskatoon. I feel I feel so lucky to have grown up in such a small town that felt so normal to me, but now that I feel like I've spent more time outside of it, it's such a novelty, and people think it's like so strange that people live there.
Why? What do you mean?
I just think it's so small that so many people that I've met in my life, I'm the only person they've ever met from Saskatoon.
Okay.
Which I'm like, it's a normal sized city.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think growing up, I hated it. I thought it was so boring. It's too cold. I don't understand how people survive there. But now that I've gotten older and, spent time away and I've come back and I've, taken time away from it, I love it so much. It's my favorite place in the entire world.
Sounds like you appreciate it differently.
I do. I think all the things that I used to think were boring or isolating now are so peaceful and so serene and so like homegrown and down to earth. There's just like a different perspective, I think, once you've been able to leave and be like, whoa, everything outside of this city is very chaotic. It's nice to come back to sort of a peaceful place to land.
Yeah. So you wrote the song from the perspective of your hometown, watching you go.
Yeah.
Oh, so touching. Where did that idea come from?
Yeah, I wrote it with my two friends, Nick Farrar and Duncan Hood, and we sort of just wanted to. We sort of all were talking about how my great grandma was from the Ukraine and she had to immigrate to Canada, and Duncan and Nick both kind of have similar stories of our grandmothers sort of being these brave people that sought better lives for themselves, and while we were having this conversation, we sort of started personifying these hometowns that saw these people leaving and knew that it was for the best, but there's still a bit of like sorrow letting them go, and how similar it is to, so many relationships and parenthood and all these different things. So yeah, we wanted to talk about what it would sound like in the head of your hometown when she has to watch you leave and hope you come back.
Yeah, it's so loving. Is there a favorite lyric that you have from it that you want to?
I just love that it comes from a place of full support, which I think is so nice. I think a lot of the lyrics sort of, instead of being this, suffocating grip on, I hope you come back, how dare you leave me, it was just this really beautiful, supportive approach to it.
It almost goes back to what we were saying about somebody in a relationship who sees you as their ticket to everything and they need you to stick around. It's the total opposite of that.
Exactly.
Saying like, I see you for
I
who
love
you
you
are.
so much.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. So you live in Toronto now?
I'm splitting my time, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my partner lives here, so I spend a lot of time here with him. But I try to go back to Saskatoon, and I still have a place there that I can stay as much as I want.
Oh.
I am too scared to stay there in the winter.
Okay. That's fair.
So I come here for the mild winters
Yeah, well,
that
I
I
was
was
just gonna
promised
say,
in Toronto.
it's so cold.
Arguably way worse. It's
Yeah.
cold and wet here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm splitting my time, yeah. I'm definitely spending a little bit more time in Toronto than Saskatoon, at least this past year when I was finishing the record. But yeah.
What do you like about being in Toronto?
I love my community here. I feel like I've never had so many close friends that I relate to so much. I think I've had a lot of wonderful friendships in Saskatoon. But I feel like when I came to Toronto and met my close group of friends that I have now, it felt just like, oh, I found my people. So I love that. And I love the music community. I love that everyone is so collaborative here, and there's just so many different avenues to explore musically.
So back to Greyhound, to your debut, I've heard you say that this album is a confessional, one of lessons learned and things we leave behind. So as we close out, what is one lesson that you've learned and one thing that you want to leave behind after making this record?
I think the biggest lesson I've learned through writing this record and sort of like analyzing all of the situations that I've, put myself through while writing this record is just trusting your gut. I think we always, your intuition is always the most correct thing. And I think your body always knows before your brain does. And I think I've had such a lovely past year, and going into this next year, I'm already feeling such a great energy because I'm trusting myself so much, and I'm trusting my gut, and I'm following the things that my body is screaming at me. So I think that's the biggest lesson learned, is just trust yourself, because you know yourself.
Yeah, that's a valuable one.
Yeah. And I think leaving behind, I think like a rigidness and a dichotomy. I think with this record, I loved exploring sort of nuances in relationships and how there's a lot of gray matter, and a lot of the beautiful things and a lot of love comes from that gray matter. So I think I'm leaving behind, just like a rigidness, and I'm letting myself explore all the in-betweens.
Well, we love hearing you explore it on this album. I really, really enjoy it, and thank you so much for being here to talk about it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.